Young Polly Klaas was having a slumber party with two of her friends on October 1st, 1993, in Petaluma, California. She was 12 years old. Around 10:30 p.m., a man entered the bedroom where the three girls were enjoying their sleepover. He had a knife, but told the girls that he didn't plan to hurt them. He was only there for money. He then tied up Polly's friends, put pillowcases over their heads, and told them to count to 1,000. Then he kidnapped Polly. Within 30 minutes, an APB went out with a description of the man who took Polly. Problem with the APB, though, was that it only went out on one channel, Sonoma County Sheriff's Channel 1. That would be very important in how this case played out. Within just hours of the kidnapping, 20 miles north of Petaluma, in rural Santa Rosa, the babysitter was on her way home. She noticed there was a suspicious vehicle stuck in a ditch. The vehicle was on her employer's private driveway. So she called her employer to let her know, and the woman, being cautious, decided to leave the property with her daughter. She drove down her long driveway to Pathian Road and passed a man there. He turned out to be Richard Allen Davis. She went down to a service station and called 911 from there. Two deputies would show up to the call. Sonoma Valley deputies used Channel 3 on their radios, so they did not know about Polly's kidnapping, and they had not heard the APB with the suspect description. They ran David's driver's license and plates. Those records checks came back with no warrants. The deputies would ask the property owner to allow them to arrest for trespassing under a California law that allowed civilians to make arrests for such things. The property owner refused because it meant she would have to go to the stuck car with deputies and say, "I arrest you." So they called a tow truck to get the car out of the ditch. While they waited, they searched the vehicle and found no evidence of anyone else in the car. There was an open container of beer, which they made him pour out. They filled out a card with Davis's information on it and filed that. The man whose description was in that APB, the man who took Polly, it was Richard Allen Davis. In the meantime, a manhunt was on to find Polly, involving more than 4,000 people who helped over the next 2 months. The kidnapping received a lot of media attention as well, locally and nationwide. It was November 28th when that same property owner was inspecting her property. She had some loggers come to partially clear the property of trees. So during her inspection, she found items on the property that didn't belong there. She believed they might possibly be related to Polly's kidnapping. So she called Sonoma County Sheriffs and they sent people out. They found a torn pair of ballet leggings. These matched the other part of the leggings which had been left behind at the crime scene. So investigators check all the calls that happened in the area that night, the night of the kidnapping. And what do they find? They find that contact card with Davis from the night his car was stuck on the property. Davis had a record, a long one. They checked his prints against a partial palm print from the kidnapping, and it matched. They called out the troops at this point. FBI, Sonoma County, Petaluma Police, all came out to launch a search of the property and the adjacent road for any other evidence they could find. 2 months had already passed, and that day, well, there was a heavy rainstorm. They put Davis under surveillance and tried to keep their search low-key so they wouldn't alert him. Nothing further came of the search or the surveillance, but a decision was made to arrest Davis anyway. The print, the stalking, the description provided by the girls, it would be enough to make the arrest while they continued their investigation. Davis was taken to be interrogated by FBI agents and Petaluma PD. While that was happening, one of the biggest searches in California history was being organized and conducted. There were 500 search team members from 24 different agencies from all over California and even Nevada. They would find more evidence, but sadly they did not find Polly. They planned to continue searching, though, for at least another day. They would not have to. Davis confessed to kidnapping and murder and led investigators to Polly's body. She was buried in a shallow grave just off Highway 101, just south of Cloverdale, California. Sadly, it's believed he had hidden Polly in thick brush near where his car was stuck the night of the kidnapping, just above where the car was. Hearing the APB might not have saved Polly's life, but it may well have captured her killer the same night. Davis was convicted of first-degree murder with 4 special circumstances for the death penalty in June 1996. The 4 special circumstances were robbery, burglary, kidnapping, and attempt lewd act on a child. The jury brought back a verdict of death. Davis was an absolute pig during his sentencing, taunting Polly's family, extending his middle fingers to cameras, and suggesting that Polly's last words referenced her father molesting her. Just absolute piggish behavior. Davis has sat on death row since 1996. His first appeal wasn't even heard until 2009, 13 years after his conviction. The death penalty was upheld after that appeal. There were suspensions of the death penalty by the U.S. Supreme Court and then by the government of California while they looked at their method of lethal injection. As those dragged on, California would place an indefinite moratorium on the death penalty in 2019. Davis cannot be paroled, but his sentence can't be carried out either. Sometime in the next 2 years, Davis will be moved from death row at San Quentin, along with other infamous California death row inmates like Cary Stayner, Charles Zing, and Randy Kraft. San Quentin, you see, is being converted into a rehabilitation center, and the death row inmates will be headed off to other California prisons. Polly's kidnapping changed a number of things in California. First, APBs are now broadcast on all police channels and go through a centralized 911 dispatch system. California also enacted a 3-strikes law in the wake of the murder, something Polly's father advocated for given Davis's 11-page criminal record. Her sisters now advocate against 3 strikes, which has had a number of negative consequences. They would prefer a system that is more preventative than reactive, an idea that's long been supported by others both in and out of the justice system. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying these videos and want more, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any videos. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.